are listening to the Careers BU podcast, the podcast aimed at Bournemouth University students and graduates. Each episode, we talk to employers, alumni and professionals all about their career journey, what employers are looking for, and help you explore the opportunities that are available to you. Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'm Amanda Fripp, Careers Advisor at BU. In today's episode, I chat to BU alum David Burnet, founder and director of the virtual reality company Invidar. David talks about how he made the most of his time whilst at university, and we discuss his journey from graduating in games technology to building a successful business that specialises in real-time 3D solutions and immersive technologies. So, hi David, thank you for coming on to the episode today. Do you just want to introduce yourself and where you're from?
Yeah, so I'm David Burnet. I'm a BU alum, and I'm founder and director of Invidar. I also work for a few other companies, so I lead technical artist at Treehouse, and I'm also head of digital execution at Channel Assist.
How do you fit that into a 5-day week? That sounds very busy.
Honestly, you don't. You've just got to keep doing more than most. I think that's going to repeat a little bit today. Just take as many opportunities as possible. I think I'm a true believer in almost working as many hours as possible in your 20s to kind of not necessarily retire at 30, but getting as much done in your 20s while you can as possible.
Okay, cool. Okay, so can we just kick off? Can you tell me a little bit about your educational journey to date?
Yeah, so I'll go back a little bit further. So I'm originally from sort of the Hampshire area. So I studied in a Hampshire school at Test Valley, got my few GCSEs. I only just scraped what I needed to get into college. But as soon as I got into college, I knew I wanted to do something a bit more hands-on, a bit more vocational. So I went into a BTEC at Basingstoke College of Technology. And from there, all the way up into where I am today, I've really flourished. So as soon as I got to BCOT, doing level 3 BTEC in creative media production, which was in brackets games development. So very kind of on point for what I'm doing today, which is real-time 3D technologies. While there, I studied, quite hard. And as I said, I come back to doing more than most. I was also the student president there for 2 years and also a student governor. And I went on to do a number of awards there as well, including the Basingstoke Place to be Proud of Awards. So I did a lot at college, just again, taking every opportunity I could to excel and to do just basically anything I can get my hands into. It's quite an amazing time. I also got to travel during that time as well. But really, it kind of laid the groundwork for what I wanted to do, or kind of figured out what I wanted to do, because I wasn't quite sure again. So I actually spent the year out between college and university just saying, actually, is this definitely what I want to do? I also worked during that time, earned a little bit of money, sort of got that kind of working in a retail store job. Yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to go into it and really give it my all. So unfortunately, that also meant I had my grades at the point, so I could really pick what colleges I want to go, universities I wanted to go to. And that ended up being Bournemouth University after looking around a few colleges. And for me personally, that was down to mainly the modernisation of the facilities there and the course itself being certified by the industry body. So there's always a couple of things you should probably look out for when looking for courses. And that's, making sure that, the facilities are what you need to be. How's the life like? Are you going to enjoy your time there, both personally and academically? And then what's your course certified by? So for us, it's TIGA. I think we also had UKIN at one point for the games development course. Also, I should say the games technology course at Bournemouth University, which is now changed into games design and games programming. Slightly different now to how it was back in my day. I say that, but it was only 8 years ago I started, so and graduated 4 ago, so it wasn't that long ago. But yeah, just checking out what's making sure it's right for you, and spending that year actually allowed me to go and redo that. But again, going to Bournemouth University wasn't just that. I had all the opportunities to go and be a senior student ambassador. I worked, during the marketing department there as well. I also worked with local schools doing outreach. I was one of the Shaw 2018 winners for highlighting undergraduates' work as well.
Wow.
I got to do a short paper while I was there as well. Did 3 or 4 student research assistant jobs. So got to do a bunch of work at Bournemouth University. Again, just taking every opportunity I could to go and make myself employable or do what I wanted to do necessarily after university. I also managed to complete a 63-week placement as well while there, which is just, I don't know if anybody's done that length of placement before, but it really...
No.
Yeah.
Where was that?
I did a mix. So I did a games design for 39 weeks at BU alum game studio, working on psychological horror games. So I learned a lot there about how to build games, and That gave me that sort of, again, that industry experience, which is massively valuable to employers. But then I came back to Bournemouth University and did an SRA with Dr. David John, working on a project for the Girl Guides Association at Dudsbury INH Fort, which they're still using to this day. We did a virtual reconstruction of the INH Fort, how it would have looked. And that was a very cool project. So, and also paid from the university. So coming back to work with the university and on a paid project, and that got me, again, more industry experience. So, and in total, that totaled up to the 60 plus weeks.
So you really built that experience. You really made the most of your time while at Bournemouth University, didn't you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Any opportunity there, I think you can find. I mean, for me, especially in kind of the story that I've had and what to where I am today, which I'm sure we'll go into, but it's all about doing more than just doing more than most. You need to make yourself more employable. You need to put yourself above the rest, and it doesn't take more. That is, 90% of the job is turning up to your sessions, turning up to whatever opportunity you need to do, but also going out and taking on those opportunities as well. So that can be being just a student ambassador and doing those doing those talks, giving those talks. It gives you people relation skills, talking and communicating to people, and it's also paid for you as a student as well. So it's brings a little bit of income, so it helps that side of it as well. But once you kind of get into those opportunities, you get to kind of snowball. I did summer breaks because which is a student residential trip for disadvantaged pupils coming from schools that are looking at university. So yeah, I think it was year 9s, 10s and 11s upwards. For us, they'd come and spend a week with us at university based in the Cranbourne halls of residence over the summer, and we'd give them the kind of uni experience. We'd take them around, kind of show them lessons, each give a workshop that week, and they'd live with us in the halls of residence to get an idea of uni life, which was massively satisfying, but it also meant I got to stay in BU for the summer. I would have never had that type of opportunity if I hadn't just done that initial kind of student ambassador or just kind of taking that first little step. So everything leads on to more.
Yeah, definitely, and it really develops those transferable skills, doesn't it?
Most definitely.
Okay, so you were founder of Invidar. What is that company? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
So Invidar is a company that I founded during the pandemic. So I find myself being made redundant right at the start of the pandemic. So I decided to go freelance, and rather than just going self-employed, I decided to actually found my own company and do it that way. And we've grown to where we are today, which is we've gone from being sort of one person on my own to sort of 8 people. 5 of those are used to be BU alums. We had a few people leave and a few people come back, etc. And it specialises in real-time 3D technology. So really what we've learned from our courses at BU, so doing games technology, so taking the game engines, doing all the 3D assets that go into making that, all the development to getting that onto platform, and sort of tying it up into one kind of studio, but for the commercial and B2B markets. So we've worked on projects for the likes of Samsung, Sony's, sort of Milwaukee's, and had some really good success in working in these kind of fields. And it's definitely a market that's growing and is needed research in. And yeah, it's just been a wild ride, just trying to deliver what we can or what we've learned, but in a commercial aspect. So that is delivering those products. It is showing off these virtual events, which we've kind of landed ourselves in a time where it's most needed. In a time where we can't do these physical events, we need like a virtual or digital twin of it. So that's why we've kind of rapidly expanded and grown over the pandemic.
And was this something that you've always? I mean, obviously you've been studying games design, so this kind of field is something you've always, I'm guessing, wanted to do. But the virtual reality for kind of businesses and the commercial sector where did that idea come about? I know you said it was during COVID, but kind of where was that light bulb moment that you went, actually, I'm going to do that instead of maybe going down the games design route?
A bit of background on virtual reality. I mean, virtual reality has been around for years. I mean, it's definitely being kept more than sort of alive by the business market, and it's very strong in the consumer markets as well. I mean, the Oculus Quest 2, which is a very popular headset, outsold Xbox a few years ago. So people have these headsets, people in their kind of rooms, and they're giving them gifts, etc. We're treating them as if they're typical gaming consoles or phones nowadays. So the market's definitely there, which means there's a drive for content, there's a drive for demand, and once that platform is in place, it means companies are wanting to develop applications for it. We see this in the virtual reality space. We now see this in the metaverse space, where people are wanting their own slice of this to deliver to these consumers. But it's been around for years anyway. I mean, ever since the sort of 1950s onwards, there have been variations of virtual reality that we've seen. Back from when we had like I think it was the Futurama or some of the first ones where you'd sit in like a motorbike one and see and smell. We had the KVR where we've got screens on the walls and you walk into that experience. There's been loads of examples of virtual realities for decades, and now we're just seeing the kind of attainable version of this. Something that's more cost effective, something that is obtainable for the masses. And then, as I said, that just gives a platform for these other businesses to deliver their content. And then for us, during the pandemic, no one could do physical events, so we found ourselves specializing in virtual events, and we needed to do something again a bit more than most, a bit more than just a Zoom call. We want to develop an environment for them, and that's what we've kind of done for these companies. So the project that we use all the time is Milwaukee Hub. So we built them, or we helped build on that particular project, an environment to showcase their tools in, because they couldn't show them off physically. So we built them a virtual job site, and that was an amazing success.
And with the kind of the business development side of it, so obviously you are a growing business. How are you getting your new businesses? Is it through word of mouth? How are you growing your business?
I think it's an interesting development. So, I mean, for me, when I initially started out, I knew I had a good LinkedIn presence. It's almost like having a good portfolio. Artists have ArtStation in our course, or they've got a website where they can show themselves off. For me, it was kind of making sure that LinkedIn was definitely there. I've had that since college, and I've developed it. If you go and find me on there now, you'll find that it's quite well filled out. I've got lots of endorsements on there. People have found me through there. I mean, I know from one particular client, they've literally Googled Unreal Engine developer Bournemouth, and I'm pretty much the first link that isn't an ad. So, so it's just making sure that your presence is available. So, and it's always hard, especially when you start out as a first time sort of business owner or first time startup. It's one of the hardest things to build that client network, to build those projects up. And it actually took us about 6 months to find our initial project before we sort of had our breakers aware. And we just made sure we delivered on that. And for that particular client, we're still working with them to this day rather. And it's only because we were very honest with them about what we could deliver in the start, and made sure that we delivered on our promises back then as well. So you're building those relationships up. Once we had that sort of project under our wings, as it were, we had another project which was the bulk of our work for the last 2 years, and that really has just pushed the team size up massively. They gave us a lot of investment to build what they wanted. They were all 6-figure contracts, and really, that for a small company is just huge to go from doing an initial project for a few thousand and then suddenly coming onto a 6-figure project. That's really what's sort of made us sort of grow up as fast as we have, because there's that demand, because we have delivered, because we have been honest with our clients and partners, because we built those relationships up. And that's all business is at the end of the day. It's just building up these relationships. It's not a case of just doing a project and then walking away. You've got to develop those relationships. You've got to cultivate them.
And just kind of going back a little bit, obviously when you graduated, did you? I'm just kind of like thinking about the timeline between when you graduated and when you started up the business. Did you work anywhere else between that time? Did you gain other types of experience after you graduated?
Yes. So coming out of university, there's a little bit of story behind that as well. So when I was coming out of university, I was planning to go on and do my PhD with BU. Unfortunately, I didn't get the job because it was a match-funded PhD. I lost out. So, but I went to then go work on for another company who offered me a job. I was very fortunate because I hadn't been looking. That was a mistake on my part. I very much put all my eggs in one basket in doing that lead, and that didn't turn out. So I had to quickly go find that. But because I'd had such experience, because I'd put myself forward for these opportunities, they already knew me. So they fortunately offered me a job. I then went to work for them for 18 months until I was made redundant. And that's when I then started Invidar in 2020. So towards sort of March, May time, after a few months after leaving that job. So
you did have time building up that experience, some of those skill sets.
Yes, but not as a business owner at all. I was just a 3D artist there, so I still got industry experience. Don't get me wrong. I was in there. I was building my own. I had time to do R&D and build up these experiences similar in some cases to what I've been building in my own company. But in terms of actually running and building a business, none of that's came from that particular company. So a lot of that came out of the business courses that I had that run alongside BU within the Games Technology course. And I think that they're massively valuable to this day. They kind of went over how to tender, how to write a business contract, what taxation is, etc. What's IP, just those kind of raw fundamental sort of understandings that I've taken forward into this business today. And a lot of it's just been incredibly lucky as well. A lot of the people I've met at the start of the business, the people that I've worked with on the first project, again, who are freelancers, I still work with them to this day again. So again, building those relationships, not just with clients, not just with projects, the people that are freelancing onto it as well. They'll come and help you, they'll come and work for you. It's all about just being open and honest with those people and really building all those relationships up. The best one I had was actually someone who had actually worked 25 years in the industry as a freelancer already, and they helped me sort of, go through accountants and who I should be looking for, much like what we look at on the course, right? Where we say it should be certified. Do you look for a chartered accountant? What do you need? Do you need a lawyer? Do you need someone to draft up a contract? Here's who's I've used before. Go get advice from there. So just speaking and having that little bit of mentorship at the start as well really helps.
So finding a mentor or somebody who can guide you and give you a bit of support can help.
Yeah, I mean, if you can, there are plenty of societies at BU that will help you out with that. I know there's the Business Society. There's also a couple of other groups that I'll be announcing. So keep a lookout on LinkedIn, because we're actually going to be supporting one of those groups in Dorset, which is the Dorset sort of startup and founders club. So they're going to be running regular meets. I know students come down to that. There are pockets of industry out there. You've got Eagle Labs as well, which is based in Westbourne. So that's an innovation sort of office, as it were. So lots of startups in there, people that can help out. They run regular events as well. Dorset Growth Hub. There's plenty out there if you know where you're looking. So BCP also run a number of events as well. So it's about doing more, getting involved, and just learning what's out there.
Yeah, and building that network. Yeah. So what did you find in terms of the challenges of building a startup? What challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
A lot of it was contract writing. It's just knowing what to trust, getting legal advice. It's, staffing, HR, making sure people are happy, what insurances you need, making sure we're profitable. We've had no investment under Invidar. We've been profitable since day one, mostly because I've been on my own. And then, obviously started off and got those contracts, and then suddenly we needed staff, and that's been obviously crucial to Invidar's development. Yeah, in terms of challenges, just learning from little failures. So if we've missed we've missed an invoice, or we've not put that sale of works in, or we forgot to put terms and conditions in, just being open and honest about it, and just rewriting them or sending or explaining to them when you have these hiccups. There hasn't been too many challenges. Obviously, during the economic climate that we're in now, that's been a bit of a challenge. Gone through, we are in a recession. We are going through a very difficult time now. People are spending. Consumers are spending less on sort of products, as it were, and companies are starting to be more strict or smarter about how they're using their money. So that means we have to adapt and make sure that we're smarter with the way that we deliver our pitches. So most of it is sort of just rolling with it and just learning from our little failures. So a lot of that has come from sort of the contractual side of it, and just making sure that all the sort of T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, as it were.
Okay, excellent. And it was interesting, you said you didn't have any investment, did you? So that's quite an achievement. You've just built it up.
Yeah, no, we didn't need any investment. So, and it's one thing I would kind of encourage as well students to do, if they're comfortable and to sort of start their own business, if they've looked for jobs for several months, just go out freelancing. It only costs, I'm sure the cost is similar to same now, but it only costs £12 to register a business. So we get it on Companies House. Insurance isn't that much if you're on your own. With very little startup costs, you can start up a business from essentially nothing. Back when I started Invidar, I've just started my master's at BU as well, so I didn't really talk about that, but I subsequently dropped out of that. But I had a bit of student loan there that was sort of covering my rent, and I used that a little bit there to actually fund the name and get it registered and go from there. But initially, we didn't have any kind of investment, so just again, trying to get those projects in is always the hard step. But once you do get those projects in, you just got to make sure you deliver on what you say you can. And again, when you do have those little failures, make sure you're honest with whoever you're speaking with, building those relationships again, and it will just begin to snowball. Like the opportunities I've had, everything, you're just doing that little bit more, it will just begin to snowball. And today we know we've got a portfolio of people that we now work with that we can pull on or ask for or advice from with that network. So
brilliant, thank you. So in terms of for students trying to get into virtual reality or maybe setting up a business within this field, what sort of tips would you give them?
In terms of any business starting with the field, just start. Honestly, you just get going. Once you've got that name in place, start advertising, start building a brand from day one. I've always had a brand through university. I had another brand called K73, which I used a lot of. I kind of used that as a brand on all of my work. Acting as if I was a business already before I was even registered. But and then I subsequently go and start Invidar. But just begin. There's no right time necessarily to start a business. There's no right time to start anything nowadays. But just get it registered so you can start on your journey. Essentially, once you've made that first step, then you'll eventually see the sort of miles tumble, as it were. And in terms of people looking to get specifically into virtual reality, you've obviously got to understand the underlying software. So we use sort of Maya and Autodesk to build all of our models, Substance Paint to texture them. That's kind of the asset creation pipeline. We then use game engines. So Unreal is the one that we use internally and exclusively. And that's used for all manner of things nowadays. I mean, we see that not just in games, but also in sort of serious applications, backdrops to film sets. Uses green screen now. You see it in like the front of Westworld. I know Substance Painter and the models were in the intro sequence to the last season was all used for using that sort of software and technology. So there's numerous opportunities that you can get into, but you've just got to understand the software stack. It's like learning any other language. Once you learn it, it can be ubiquitous across multiple industries. So just learn the software, and then all virtual reality is just a platform. And there's just some small learning there. It's like building for mobile, like building for web. It all has its own caveats. But once you learn the understanding, fundamental software, you can take it anywhere.
So learning the software, getting started if you want to learn a business. And from what I think I've learned from you as well is really building those networks and taking those opportunities. It sounds like that's something that you really made the most out of. Even if it wasn't directly related to virtual reality, you still took out opportunities to develop skills and to meet people, and it sounds like that was something quite key in your journey as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking about those opportunities and building those relationships up, and not all those relationships work. I will say that it sounds as if potentially every relationship or every person we worked with has worked out. It hasn't necessarily. There have been small failures of projects, and that's kind of ended that relationship. There are you're not going to potentially get on with everybody, but it is just taking any opportunity you can and really doing your utmost to make sure that you deliver on those projects. And then once you've made that impression, people will just continue to either use you or support you or recommend you through word of mouth. And even in the sector where it's sort of technical innovation, it all comes down to people skills at the end of the day. It all comes down to being communicative with people and just being really down at that sort of human level, even though we're delivering something completely virtual.
Thank you so much. That's been really insightful. It's been so interesting just hearing about that whole journey of being at university, developing those skills, and then building that business as well. So thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening today. Please remember to subscribe and follow so you can keep up to date with all new episodes.